Wow, man. I just had 200 people on that last live stream, and YouTube literally just dropped the entire thing right in the middle of it for no reason. I don't know what happened. At least I'm just glad that there's no strikes against my channel, and that my channel's still up, as a lot of channels have gone. And it's pretty crazy what's going on. So anyways, I was just cut off last stream, and so I'm starting a new one. So I wanted to talk about this stream, something a little bit different, and switch gears, because obviously YouTube maybe didn't like the topic that I was talking about in the last stream. So I'm going to stick with something a little more scientific. We're going to talk about teleportation and the U.S. Air Force studies into teleportation, some of the more recent physics stuff. From the U.S. Air Force, this was a part of a teleportation physics study issued by the Air Force Research Laboratories at the Air Force Materiel Command at Edwards Air Force Base in California. And here's the reference number if you want to look that up. You can find this on earthtech.org, which is a website run by Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, and Hal Puthoff's two sons, I believe. Very interesting stuff that they're researching there, and some of this stuff is a little more wacky, but the interesting part is, how do we actually generate this? And like the stuff that I'm interested in is, how do I produce this in my laboratory? Yeah, we got the variable speed of light stuff. We talked about something called Einstein's lost key. Einstein's lost key. The best idea was overlooked. This is Unzicker. Alexander Unzicker, very interesting guy. Let me see if we can't find some videos of Eric Davis or Unzicker to Alexander Unzicker. That'd be great. I know this isn't what everyone wants to. So we back up. We good reception now. Dan took off. What's interesting is I found this. I want to play this one clip, and I got to find it again. I had it on Twitter. Let me find it on Twitter. I posted this earlier. Dan took the night off, man. We just you can only take so much talking about Bob Lazar, and the fact that we should have really prepared for that stream like a half hour beforehand. That we just did. And if we had prepared for it and put it together a little more thoughtfully, it would have worked out a lot better. And that's kind of what I want to do in the future. But I do these live streams so I can hash out, a lot of the intelligence, and then this helps me, figure out where there's missing pieces, figure out, how to organize and put this all together. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what we're doing here. I'm gonna post this over to Twitter and talk about that. But yeah, we dropped the last stream because somehow it had ended the live stream. I was just streaming, and all of a sudden it just ended it and came up with the thing. I don't know what was going on. We had over 200 people watching the last live stream, and then suddenly YouTube just censored it and cut the feed and ended it. And that was, I don't know what was going on there. It's Friday night, man. People want to talk about UFOs and want to talk about science and technology in the future and stuff that's hidden from us. And so that's what I'm here to do. I wanted to play this, and this is Seth Lloyd from MIT talking about quantum entanglement. So. Dude, they are. I don't know.
Dude, they cut your audio for the video that you're playing right now. It's not coming through again after an hour and a half long session of trying to fix it. It's just suddenly goes.
Oh, so you can't even hear the audio on this, guys.
Oh my god, it's not just YouTube either. That means it's local, dude. It's local on your computer. You're getting screwed with hard, dude. What do you have to say that's so dangerous?
Everything works okay.
Hopefully.
How's that? Is it coming through now?
Yeah, that's right. So if everything works just as you would like, then things get reconstructed.
And this has been done with photons?
Yeah, so it's done the way it's been done now, and actually for 20 years now. This is not something.
Oh my god, I can't believe this. They're fucking with me.
Teleportation.
They're fucking with me
really
wicked
is a
hard
kind of
now.
strange Trekkian thing. So the idea is, let me take Arthur. Maybe you could be not Kirk, but Captain Picard. Oh my God, he is Captain Picard.
I swear to God, I didn't edit any of those settings. I had to just go in and change
the idea
those
behind
settings.
teleportation.
Can they like get in my
you'd like
computer
to
and click stuff? How
Dematerialize
did they just
Captain
end the
Picard here
stream?
and
That was just weird. It
rematerialize
just
him
dropped.
over there. Now, for a long time, people thought that quantum mechanics would prevent this from
thank
happening
you, guys.
because
I
when you
can't
look at
believe
something,
this,
you
man.
mess it up. And so if you have to look at something to get enough information about it to teleport it, you would just not only dematerialize it, but destroy it. But this funky entanglement, this quantum weirdness where
I'd like you
things
to come on and
have
join me and talk
things
about,
that far away from each other know much more about
their
each other than
dreams
they
and
ought
stuff,
to know. This actually allows you to do this. So the idea is you set up a bunch of entangled particles. You make a measurement on Captain Picard together with the entangled
No worries,
particles
man.
over
Hey,
here.
thanks for the call.
And
Take
this
care.
generates information, just a string of bits, ordinary classical bits. And you take those bits and you send them over to Scotty, over here, and this allows Scotty to rematerialize Captain Picard over there. By changing the state of the other entangled particles, he can recreate what was destroyed over here.
So it was just he was destroyed here, but he's reconstituted just the same over there?
Well, if everything works okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's right. So if everything works just as you would like, then things get reconstructed.
And this has been done with photons?
Yeah, so it's done the way it's been done now, and actually for 20 years now. This is not something that is completely new. People since the mid-1990s have been teleporting particles of light from here over there. You have a pair of entangled photons. You bring in another photon, make a measurement of this photon with half of the entangled pair, send some classical bits of information over here, monkey with this other photon, and voila, it is the same.
And theoretically, that could happen between here and Mars or between here and the other side of the galaxy. At what speed does it happen?
You have this funny feature of entanglement that our macroscopic intuitions tell us that when you make the measurement over here, something happens instantaneously over there. But that's not actually true. It's more that this quantum funkiness, this is, by the way, a technical term. I once saw James Brown in concert, and somebody said, well, James, what's going to happen next? And he said, I don't know, but whatever it is, it's got to be funky.
Quantum.
Quantum funkiness.
So it's faster than light, slower than light, I'm behind.
No, so it actually is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't happen faster than light, but the message that you send to reconstitute the information can go no faster than the speed of light. So you can't recreate the thing you're teleporting over here faster than the speed of light.
Until you get the information.
That's
and then hope that you put it together the way it was when it started. It sounds dangerous.
Right, and we all get the vision of Spaceballs where the Emperor, teleports backwards through the machine and his butt's on backwards, right? But anyways, that's super interesting. Talking about they've now teleported. They've stopped light in a crystal. First they stopped it for they slowed it down. Then they slowed it to a stop, and then they stored it and got it stuck in a crystal for over a minute. And now they're working on beating those records and stuff. So they've done really interesting things with these photonic metamaterials, and you can read about this. This was back in 2013 that they froze it for a minute. Who knows what they can do now? And they talk about crystal memory storage, storing memory inside of crystals using these techniques, and also teleporting information. So if you can teleport information and use these crystals, I want to talk a little bit more about this. Another interesting thing is that guy that was just speaking in this video, is a man named, I was trying to look him up on Twitter, and I noticed that his Twitter account was locked, and I was like, why is this guy from MIT's Twitter account locked? And then I realized that he was the he was the guy from MIT that got caught up with Jeffrey Epstein, and accepted almost $300,000, a personal gift of 60 grand, and didn't report them as he was supposed to, or whatever. And apparently, that tied him into ties him into some interesting circles of people who we know are tied with intelligence and the deep state. Also connected with people at our top universities who are interested in teleportation physics. So there's another interesting deep state connection that's might be worth looking into a little bit more. In any case, I'm more interested in the physics and what's actionable to get us closer to building this stuff. You look at this Air Force report that was written by Eric Davis. I think a lot more attention needs to be paid toward this sort of thing, and he comes up with this whole idea that you can create this warp drive if you can produce these negative energy schemes. And so then he comes to this part 3 is the schemes that he comes up with for generating negative energies, and he talks about a lot of these ideas using, creating negative energies via gravitationally squeezed 0-point fields, and generating negative energy via like what are called plasmon polaritons, and also polariton condensates, which I don't know if he mentions that stuff in here, but he mentions squeezed light, and he mentions these types of technologies. So as a scheme for generating negative energy states, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So here's an article, if you can, this is in the description. It's called 30 Years of Squeezed Light, and it's by Ulrich Anderson and Tobias Gering, and they talk about the history of when they first squeezed light, or created condensed light. So everyone knows what a Bose-Einstein condensate is. Well, maybe not everyone, but the first Bose-Einstein condensate was created in a lab in 1995. This was created in 1985, 10 years earlier, and this is condensed light states. Another type of interesting thing. But the University of Rochester was the one who were working on this. They're in upstate New York, about a decent drive from Buffalo. But they're doing a lot of they're doing research that's funded by the Air Force Research Laboratory. And the Air Force Research Laboratory is, of course, funding these squeeze state projects because they're interested in these schemes, again, for producing these negative energies and stuff. And it's really interesting because we found this other article of the we looked at NASIC is the National Air Force Space and Intelligence Center, National Aerospace Intelligence Center, and they're out in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and we found that where's that guy, Isaac Kemp. I had researched this. FBI was investigating these papers. Found in top secret papers were found in this guy's house from NASIC, right at Patterson Air Force Base. And this article was from out in Ohio. And this guy Isaac Kemp, they said that they found marijuana plants in his house, right? And that's like a way to get people in intelligence agencies to like look away from this guy because like, oh, he's growing weed, But he was a NASIC employee, and there was no marijuana plants found. There's no evidence of that. That was like, it looks like just a cover story. But he was doing research at Wright State University, which is basically this university that was created. It was a university that was created in 1947. This was like the underground facilities, and there's a whole underground complex on the base, on the campus, that used to be a detachment of Wright-Patterson Airfield, where a lot of UFO researchers believe that the was the first place that the Roswell materials and other materials from the Blue Room were brought and studied and kept in these underground tunnels that exist on the campus. And if you go to the campus map, you can get a map and it shows you literally all the underground tunnels and stuff. You can go to the tunnel view right here and see the check that, and you can see the whole underground tunnel system. It's extensive underneath the whole campus. Very interesting place, but their physics department was this guy Isaac Kemp, and they also have this the Wright State Photonics and Ultra Fast Physics group, right? And these guys are doing some real cutting edge research. I'd want to go out there and talk to these people, but I doubt that they would ever even talk to me. And I think that, you know, trying to approach these people might even red flag me. But there's a whole list of undergraduate students and graduate alumni and visitors and stuff. And one of those guys is this dude Isaac Kemp, who got caught up in this documents. He had a couple of thousand documents that he had brought home from work and was reading and studying it at home in his spare time because he didn't have enough time at work to really look at this stuff and research it. So he was bringing it home and researching it. And you know, this PhD thesis that this guy wrote, if you can look it up on here, he wrote it on squeeze states and using surface plasmon polaritons, and in conjunction with squeeze states, and some very interesting stuff, because the squeeze state part is you know, the surface plasmon polariton part is what they're trying to say is being used for terahertz wave analysis. Like they have this terahertz. It's like microwaves, but it's terahertz waves, and they can basically use it to look at the layers in a painting, you know, from like the Mona Lisa. They could look through the layers of the Mona Lisa using this non-ionizing, non-harming radiation in the terahertz range rather than radiation in the X-ray range, which could potentially cause damage or bleaching or an ionization and stuff of the painting, you know, and damage, you know, the properties. So they've also apparently the Air Force is interested in this because they're, you know, saying that they're using it to look at paint. You know, you can look up Air Force paint terahertz. Maybe you can find some stuff on this. So that so under hidden imaging that reveals hidden stuff, and there's a whole bunch of stuff you can find in the optics literature about the terahertz imaging of hidden paint layers on canvas, and how the Air Force is using this to look at defects underneath airplane paint. So, and in the airplane. But really, in realisticness, I think that a lot of this is related to research that they're doing into how to open up wormholes and how to open up Stargates and warp drives, and that stuff is much more interesting than the ability to look under paint and look through paint, like X-ray vision goggles or whatever, you know. So yeah, I'm trying to break it all down as much as I can. So I'm breezing over a lot of stuff, because if I were to really get into detail on some of this stuff, it's really rich. I'm just kind of showing people an overview so that they can get access to some of this stuff to look into it and do their own. You know, we're piecing this stuff together too for people, but and I've done a lot of research beyond this, but I don't know. It's so much here. This is really rich. With information here. This is the Department of Defense. Sorry, this is the FBI file for a guy named John Archibald Wheeler, who is one of the physicists I've been studying. And I recently did a page. If you go to alienscientist.com, you'll see that I updated my website. And there's a recent story that I published that you guys should check out. This one right there. the one with John Archibald Wheeler. Okay, so this story, Squeeze Coherent Light and the Path Towards Disclosure. This is where people can find access to links to all these papers and a ton of more stuff. This guy, John Wheeler, who I've been researching, he wrote a paper on Frank Condon effect and squeeze state physics in 1985, which is right as this stuff was being discovered, according to this 30-year history, right? Four-wave mixing. The four-wave mixing thing. Remember we talked about that? Remember we showed that Bob Lazar thing with the waves, and I was like, no, that almost kind of looks like four-wave mixing, but it's two. He only has two waves, a gravity A wave and a gravity B wave. The technology that I learned about has what's called four-wave mixing, where there's four waves, not two waves. So I wanted people to check this out. Yeah, the B-2 bomber anti-gravity tech. So yeah, that's Biefeld-Brown effect. It's ion wind. It's not a real anti-gravity. It was, promoted as anti-gravity to the UFO community for a long time, but in the secret, the Biefeld-Brown effect was researched in depth by the U.S. Air Force and U.S. Air Force aerospace companies, utilizing aspects of ion wind and even supercavitation and cavitation effects that can occur with high voltage electrostatic and discharges, as well as electromagnetic fields like microwave fields, like some of that. The Drive article about blasting the microwaves in front of the craft to cause supercavitation that sucks the vehicle through the air. And then that's kind of related to that leak Mirabeau Project Skyvault stuff. But four-wave mixing is the key part of the quantum part of this, and these kind of understanding some of these optical materials and the nonlinear optics. Because nonlinear optical materials are, I believe, the way to create these coherent fields and do the teleportation via light, via lots of light, via trapped and squeezed light in two different places at once. And this what Wheeler called this quantum eraser effect. So Wheeler and the quantum eraser. It's a closed loophole, the unreality of the quantum world. There's basically this delayed choice experiment. It says where there is this particle behavior where you literally can't explain the physics without saying that the particle takes both paths and then decides afterwards which one it took. It's kind of this weird double. It's based on this double split. He talks about that this double split phenomenon a lot in the article that I have, the Squeeze States article, with by the way, the Frank Condon effect. Let's bring that up. It's called the Frank Condon principle here, but it's basically talks about nuclear coordinates and a diagram showing electron transitions with these potential energy wells and where the electron states are. So when you get to an excited state in an atom that drops back down, it's just basically doing harmonic frequencies of that base frequency of the atom. So every atom is kind of like this spinning top. It has a certain mass and a certain based on a certain atomic number, and that determines these electron orbits and all these things that are basically like wave-like properties of the vacuum and combined with just basic quantum geometry. And that's basically what gives us our entire periodic table of elements. If I could just show physical sizes. This is a good periodic table of elements chart that kind of visualizes it for people so they can kind of see that every atom has a different kind of size and a different kind of shape and structure that, you know, makes it do different things and interact with all the other particles. All the other atoms are building blocks, you know, that link up in different ways. They have different charges based on these, you know, valence electrons, and there's different rules for how they geometrically can fit together to form different shapes and puzzle pieces. For our universe, they're basically, yeah, they're the puzzle pieces of our quantum universe, or you know, the super quantum universe. It's right above the quantum limit. You know, it's in that. Let's go into sizes and scales, right? So very small. No, that's not what I was looking for. I wanted to show like a scale of things. No, this is scale models. Never mind. I wanted to show like a whole scale of the sizes of things down to angstroms and up, down to the, well, basically down to the quantum limit of h bar, you know, Planck's constant, and up, the Planck length. But in any case, let's go back on this. Let's see what we're talking about here, guys. Anyone want to join in and talk about warp drive physics and share any information on squeeze states or warp drive stuff? This is where I think it's quantum physics, guys. I don't think, like, even if you got abducted by aliens and were brought on their ship, you know, anything you kind of could have seen is not going to give you real, you know, information. It's not this steampunk version of technology. I think everything that they build is on the quantum level. It's built out of atom by atom, and it functions on a quantum level. So looking at it with our eyes are not going to be able to tell anything about how this technology works, especially if it works on this stuff, which is where I think, this is where I think what I think UFOs really use. And it's interesting because, you know, Jeremiah had texted me last night right before I went to bed, right? And he had sent this thing to me about, he said he had this dream, and it gave him like a download of how some stuff worked inside of, you know, UFOs and stuff. And I've been having dreams like this too myself, but I had an even crazier one last night, and I woke up this morning. I almost wanted to do a stream about it, but we were going to do Bob Lazar today, and then I prepared for that, but we didn't get prepared enough before it started. I tried to start it without Dan, and then Dan jumped in, and we were kind of disorganized, and we were kind of pulling it together with a lot of stuff at the end when Victor joined us. And then all of a sudden, YouTube just cut the stream, and it went dead, and I don't know what happened. And we had 200 people watching, could never get it back, you know, and now we're doing another stream, and we only have 80 people watching again. This stuff happens, man. They're really messing with this channel hard. Then of course my audio things all switched around again too, so I had to go and fix that, because crazy what's going on. In any case, I want to talk about some of these what are called photonic bandgap materials. And I had started, you know, researching. I had a download on this years ago in a dream where this idea came to me of these layered materials that would filter off different frequencies, and, you know, like super mirrors. So like the difference between a mirror and a super mirror. And I kind of envisioned this, and then I went and, you know, had this dream about it, and went and looked it up the next day, and on neutrons. I learned about these super mirrors in a page about neutrons. You know, stuff like this, it comes to me in these downloads, and then I go and start researching and digging deep on all this physics stuff, and all of a sudden you know, holy crap, there's these thing called super mirrors, you know, regular single mirror, and then there's periodic mirrors, and then there's super mirrors. And, you know, you can filter off these different wavelengths and band gaps of light through these layered band gap materials. And when you layer and stack these different band gap materials, they fill in the different band gaps, and you can make a super mirror, which reflects, you know, all the light from all those band gaps and stuff. And that's super important when you're talking about the frequencies where gravitational effects are transmitted, and kind of where that information is, the gravitational information in the system is kind of transmuted and stored. So if we can understand how to build waveguides and super mirrors, you know, these are all obviously built for neutrons, but if we can build them and tune them right, we might be able to do reflect gravity waves or gravitons, and that might be the path towards anti-gravity that I think we should start pursuing in the future, or at least one of them. We can pursue. I should pursue all of them, and just wait for the one that works. You know, whatever works, I guess, will work. You know, some people think, oh, this is getting way too crazy, and, you know, well, you know, I'm just looking at what, you know, I'm just looking through for the real physics and trying to find good ideas that sound like they make better sense. And this stuff really resonated with me, if you get the pun. But anyways, we want to do some experiments with sound, and I had this whole idea. I had the download last night. I had this dream about these layers again, and something was telling me about that there was there was like a couple different layers in the systems. Basically, I had this download that I was talking to my alien scientist. Literally, I'm in a dream talking to a real alien scientist, and I get to ask him questions about this stuff. And I was trying to, you know, draw the math out in the coordinates, and he erased it and said, like, XYZ, you know, Cartesian coordinates is like where we have everything all wrong. It's like it shouldn't even be taught that way at all, because nothing is a Cartesian system. It's kind of like this flat Earth mathematical view of math. It's a flat Earth view of math. It's Cartesian coordinates is exactly what Cartesian coordinates are. And the Cartesian coordinate system is not an effective representation of what reality is. And in my dream, he was explaining to me that, you know, instead of these, you know, points being X, Y, and Z, these coordinates were based upon based around rotations, right? So I wanted to bring up a yeah, this is the perfect one. I gotta show you this one. So we'll show you this video in a second about Fourier series and what a Fourier series is. But he's basically explaining to me that it's an infinite series of things that are rotating around each other, just like in this video, right? What this guy explains and breaks down. The scientist in my dream told me that these layers have to correspond to all these different types of rotations, and it's all around different points. And it's all tuned to different frequencies, but their frequencies are essentially rotations around a point. And the faster the rotation, the faster the higher the frequency. And it's basically this weird explanation or way that the whole entire universe and everything is built and held together. And I thought this was kind of weird because, you know, it reminded me of this Fourier series video where this guy does Fourier series, and look, he maps it out as a series of circles of things rotating around a point. And this was exactly what they described to me in my dream as these layers and these frequencies and things need to do, is that each one of these rotations represents, you know, a rotation around another heavenly body. Like, for instance, we're on the planet Earth, so this is like, you know, one loop is Earth, and then Earth is rotating around the sun, which is another loop, and then the sun is rotating around, you know, galactic central point, which is this other loop. And so all those loops kind of combined had to be you know, added together in the same way that a Fourier series can be visually represented, you know, or mathematically represented as a series of these different interconnected lines doing different rotations on a loop. In this manner, right? That the same exact thing is how these warp drive skin coatings work with their tuning to the gravity fields and the gravity waves. Because the gravity waves, they explained to me in my dream, is that these gravity waves are essentially just our rotations around these, you know, gravitational bodies, or these gravitational pivot points. And that's the coordinate system that we need to be using and looking at, rather than the Cartesian coordinate system as a more, you know, a more fundamental coordinate system. And this is super interesting, because that coordinate system is based on, you know, this coordinate whole Fourier series. If you want to get into the math on Fourier series, a Fourier series is is a bunch of sines and cosines. It's all it is. It's basically like where you just change the terms out in front of these sines and cosine parts of the equation. Yeah, there it is. There's the you know. So it's a series of sine waves or cosine waves, right? You just add a bunch of waves together, and you can build up anything in effectively a wave space from just adding waves together, which is a really crazy way of thinking about the universe, because it means like flat space. And this goes back to John Wheeler, and what John Wheeler's work was doing with what's called quantum non-locality. And it's this idea that the entire universe is really can be represented on a flat sheet of waves. It's just there's something called the Wheeler-DeWitt equation, and it's supposed to describe the entire universe. It's a wave function. It's a Einstein-Schrodinger equation, it was called, because it's basically a wave function applied over the entire universe. And it reduces everything in the entire universe to this essentially a flat wave space, where there's this issue of this quantum non-locality, where space is just basically this illusion. This illusion that's created through this many series of calculations and entanglement. And that through entanglement, we can basically link any 2 points in the entire universe together through this back door, through that, that stuff that Eric Davis was talking about, this flat space, this idea that everything is connected, we're all connected. In fact, George Adamski is the first person who allegedly was contacted and received messages from aliens. The message that George Adamski claimed that, whether you believe him or not, and he did hoax a lot of stuff, and regardless, whether you believe him or not, one of the messages that he said is that the aliens told him everything is connected. That everything is, entanglement is key to how the universe is constructed. Now, I can't imagine ever seeing something like this, realistically open up. Where you imagine that like a subway tunnel that just goes to the Sahara, or a portal from everywhere. You could open one up from New York to Tokyo, and people could just walk through, from Times Square to, Tokyo Park. But anyways, this is a little bit far out. I doubt it's going to be anything like this. I really think it's, the squeezing light stuff you can alter it in front of your craft and maybe create these warp bubbles similar to like an Alcubierre drive. But I haven't seen the equations, to convince me that something like this would be possible. I haven't seen Stargate type stuff. This is a little different, creating a bubble around your craft, because the way the topology works, it's just creating a bubble around your craft. It's not ripping through the whole universe and space-time itself. But then the other ideas of these ways that these things teleport, because these things have been alleged to glow with a ball of light, and then they project that ball of light onto another point in space, and then there's some kind of switch, and then it teleports, and then the other light fades out, and it goes instantly to another point in space through light entanglement and through quantum entanglement of light, and shining like a laser, a hologram projection of your image onto this, and burning it in space-time on that new point, and then doing some kind of switch somehow, because in the obscurity. And that stuff is a little bit far out in advance, but these skin coatings, I definitely can get on board with the skin coating stuff, and the idea that we are creating these skin coatings in a lab that could have these effects. In fact, Battelle was awarded this manufacturing award, $46.3 million for a contract to support manufacturing of extreme hypersonic environments materials. Basically these Mach 5 plus materials that they're doing on these types of things. This is the public. This is what the public gets. Meanwhile, meanwhile, the secret government and the deep state has warp drives. This is what the public gets, apparently. So. That would be really crazy if, Wheeler was right about his ideas. And Wheeler worked for Battelle. His FBI file's super interesting. as we showed earlier. I want to dig into some of that. He did a lot of classified research. He held numerous top secret security clearances. He left H-bomb secrets on a train one time and lost them. I don't even know if they were recovered or what happened, but he was a little bit absent-minded, and you know, because of that, he never left Princeton, which was kind of, I guess, a problem for Battelle, because the materials never left the Blue Room, and Wheeler never left Princeton. So to get those materials, it looks like they had a go-between or a liaison that would, you know, that worked with Wheeler and was a connection between Wheeler and Dr. Cross. Dr. Cross is an interesting guy. He was head of Battelle for a number of years during the key years where Battelle was allegedly involved in analyzing, you know, debris from Roswell and stuff. And again, I don't want to. People need to just shy away. We can't prove what that material was. We have some interesting witness reports to those metals that couldn't be bent or broken or punctured or cut. And there are some interesting materials that we know of like that now that we're discovering with science. So we know this stuff isn't like super like far off. That there are, you know, some really advanced materials that did not exist back in 1947. And not saying that what crashed in the desert in 1947 was alien, but it definitely was not a weather balloon. Whatever it was, I think that secret is within Battelle and within their metallurgy division. And I think that, you know, there needs to be more efforts to go after Battelle and find out exactly what that material is. But yeah, how to do that is a bit of a challenge, because Battelle is unreachable by FOIA. So we've exhausted all the resources available to us. You know, the CIA just released their entire black vault of all their documents that they've had. It's been in the bill that they're, you know, got to come up with all their documents, and we're just finding that there's missing pieces of the puzzle, that someone else knew stuff and it was kept from us. And you know, obviously these people knew how to keep secrets. This is a leftover from the Atomic Energy Agency, which headed the Manhattan Project. So if they were involved in the Manhattan Project and they set up the whole Manhattan Project, which, you know, 400,000 people worked on the Manhattan Project to create the atomic bomb, and it was kept very secret until after the war, the entire thing. So it's not unheard of to believe that, you know, they had the type of compartmentalization and the security protocols and procedures available at the time to cover something like this up or to hide something. And it doesn't mean that whatever crashed out there was alien, because there's a lot of secret programs that we probably still don't know about to this day that were going on with Battelle and with metallurgy and with these Operation Paperclip scientists, these hordes of Nazi German scientists and stuff. So you know, it's certainly interesting to look back at that stuff, because, you know, metallic glass and these types of amorphous metals didn't officially exist in the public domain until, you know, years later. You know, Caltech started some of the research on this back in, I think, the 80s. But to think that they had this material in 47 and we didn't know about it is certainly interesting. We can speculate and hypothesize, but yeah, I think that should be a focus of ufology, is to go after, you know, now that we've gotten all the government documents, now we know, now the next step is identifying the private contractors and going after them. And we've done a good job of identifying, you know, the big ones, but I think there's still quite a few more that we don't know about. But anyways, I thought that was interesting, that I had this dream about that, and it appeared to me and it told me that our coordinate system was wrong, and that it was more like this. And I thought that was super interesting. You know, I thought that was like, I don't know, I kind of woke up with that in my head this morning. I was like, dude, I got to do a video on this, like, before I forget about that, because I thought that was super neat. Maybe it's complete bullshit, but maybe it's maybe we'll get someone out there thinking about it the right way. if it is the right way to think about it. It seemed to make sense to me when the alien scientist in my dream was explaining it to me. But dreams are really crazy. Dreams are powerful things. It's weird to say that, you know, what dreams really are. But you guys ever heard of cryptochrome? When I showed that molecule up here, I wanted to bring that cryptochrome stuff up. So cryptochrome is an interesting, you know, is a very interesting molecule. It's a pigment or a dye that exists inside of your eye, and it's in the back of our eye. And apparently, it has very sensitive. It's very sensitive to magnetic fields, and because of the spins in the arms of the molecule. As the spins in the atoms and the arms of the molecule are very sensitive to like magnetic fields and do a special thing when they're in the presence of a magnetic field. So it's basically a physical mechanism within biology to explain why birds, and they find that birds that can tell magnetic fields have a lot of this cryptochrome molecule in the back of their eyes. And they believe that it's kind of like a, you know, they can literally see the magnetic fields as like a shade or a hue over their eyesight, you know, almost in their brain would show like the magnetic field position, so they know where to follow to go and which way to fly. It's interesting because it's the first time that they've identified, you know, like, you know, a physical mechanism for how these animals can tell magnetic fields, because that was a mystery to science for a number of years. But I guess it just proves that. And they also did other studies in animals where they did there's another study with isotopes. If you replace certain like things in your body with different isotopes, like brain, especially chemicals that are in your brain. If you start eating foods that are rich in weird isotopes, right? They find that things in your brain just stop working and don't work right. So there's obviously processes within our brain and within our like human computer system that rely on nuclear physics and spins for consciousness, you know, which is an interesting thing because it connects consciousness to quantum phenomena. And shows that, you know, how intimately related our consciousness is with quantum phenomena. And there's so much that we still don't know about, you know, the processes inside the brain and how the actual quantum physics and the spins and entanglement work. Because I really believe that in the future, if we can really understand quantum entanglement and some of these molecules and structures within the human brain, and what are called biophotons. You ever heard of this, a biophoton? I think that, you know, all electromagnetic energy is the key to life. That, you know, gravity is transmuted within the electromagnetic field. It's part of that. It's part of the frequency. You know, like I said, it's just gravity is a couple of these different frequencies that are operating on us at all times, and that if we can shut gravity off by, you know, muting out those frequencies through invisibility techniques. So basically what we're talking about with metamaterials and invisibilities, that we can take metamaterials and tune them to certain frequencies and make them invisible to those frequencies using you know, the right tuning techniques. So if we can know those frequencies which gravity mediates itself on, and we build the right metamaterials to be invisible to those frequencies, then we'll be invisible to gravity. It might be the case that we need to use, you know, massive photonic band gap structures and make ourselves invisible to all light, like literally all the different frequencies of light. We have to shut it. Maybe gravity's transmuted on all the frequencies, and it seems to be the case, starting at the terahertz frequencies and going up, and the higher frequencies, it kind of fades out. But it's interesting that it's mostly on the wavelengths that the wavelengths of light that correspond with the wavelengths of matter particles, like the, you know, substances. So if we can mute out all those frequencies using metamaterials, we might be able to just, you know, to detach from, you know, physical from the gravitational waves or the gravitational effects. And again, we might have to put power into the system because there is power that's being dissipated across the whole thing, and when I don't know. So there's going to be power that's going to have to be added to the system in order to do this. And one of the ideas was that it could be like the fringes on lasers. So if we do laser light and we squeeze everything, we'll get these fringe patterns. These optical interference patterns of destructive and constructive interference across the surface of the craft. And then the idea would be to ripple those so that it pushes the space, like that this like locks onto space-time, and then as you ripple those across the craft, it literally pulls on the space-time to pull you through space and time, along with these rippling patterns across the surface of the craft. With this, once you squeeze the light, it kind of locks your memory to that quantum optical space, and then you can move through space and time by rippling these interference patterns or fringes. This is kind of where I think we're going to learn a lot of stuff about in the next 5 years. In the next 5 years, this is where I think a lot of this stuff's going. I think we're going to learn a lot more about, as I keep researching John Wheeler and his links to Battelle and the Battelle apparatus that did tons and tons of research going into this, for decades and decades, as really the top private military defense contractor studying this stuff, in charge of the UFO file, I believe. These are cutting-edge technologies. This is where I think the future's going with this, man. I wrote a paper on this talking about, so these laser etched materials, they can laser etch these materials to give them weird effects and shapes. So there's lots of new materials that are emerging. They find that it's all based on structures and how everything's in connectedness and the way that things are connected in the quantum level, and that things are connected perfectly and aligned perfectly and right. With these supersymmetries, you can get really interesting physical effects that happen. And I think that is a key to all this. Let's take some questions, man. I'm an info merchant than a researcher. Yeah, I guess I am more of an info merchant, man. And I'm really good at finding info. I'm really good at digging up like data, and not like the best, but I'm better than Tom DeLonge, man. That's all that matters, right? And that was back in 1977. Oppenheimer, the Jack Dorsey of the atomic age. Yeah, he literally censored people and told people what, there's a lot of physicists that act like Jack Dorsey in the scientific community, We have Neil deGrasse Tyson, did you guys see the recent, oh my God, I don't even want to give it any attention, but he's talking to Corbell on Twitter apparently, and I was just like, my comment was, hey, Neil, in Star Trek, in the Star Trek universe, we had to Zefram Cochrane had to invent warp drive before the aliens would talk to us, And then once he, invented the warp drive, that's when the aliens came and talked to us. So, yeah, there's the old one, and there's the newer one from First Contact, the newer Star Trek movie. So, very interesting stuff. But I, just wanted to point out that, that Neil deGrasse Tyson should have done a lot more interesting, and should be a lot more interested in doing research into warp drives and warp drive physics. And, the Air Force is obviously interested in it. And, there's lots of other scientists with PhDs in physics that are interested in it. And, it's kind of like this weird community, man, because there's everyone saying, "Oh, you're not doing real physics, and you're not a real physicist," and there's a whole bunch of people competing for who's right and who understands the universe better. And I think that it's wrong to kind of say that anyone understands it. there's one person with this ultimate view that's reality. I think there's a very few people who had a really good grasp and full picture on it, and Wheeler was definitely one of them. If you look back at it, Wheeler and Bryce Dewitt, both of them were really the kings of the knowledge back in the 1970, and even continuing up until the later parts of their life, until like their later years. And I don't know who has that role now and who's taken over that role now, but there's a couple people actually out there now, but it'd be interesting to find out who's in charge of these programs. So let's look up who's the CEO of Battelle. Be great to get in touch with someone from Battelle. And Louis von Thayer is a business executive. He was previously in charge of DynCorp. Oh God. See, this is where it gets crazy, man, with the deep state and everything. So, if anyone knows what DynCorp was, look up DynCorp child trafficking. Okay. Look up DynCorp human trafficking. Yeah. Cynthia McKinney is one of the congresswomen who brought up, Rumsfeld's connections with this scandal back in the day. DynCorp and the human trafficking scandal. Yeah, so this is, that's a whole bunch of stuff, man. It's crazy to think that, the guy from DynCorp is now running Battelle, and that, the Carlyle Group bought EG&G too. People know about that. EG&G is like the head contractor out at Area 51. It has tons of this technology, and they were bought out by the Carlyle Group. It's pretty nuts, man, when you start digging into all that, these defense contractors and who owns this and who owns what. It's a real murky mess, and to think that the American public are being told the truth, or that we're ever going to get the truth out of these private corporations and this really stovepiped military-industrial complex is just we have to fight full force. In 2000, we have most of it there, man, but we're being censored so quickly, man. My channel is one of the few that are really talking about this stuff, and we could be banned tomorrow, bro. Like, the rate they're getting rid of channels on YouTube, it's nuts, dude. I really worry about the future, and worry about the future of this channel and everything we're trying to do with everything that's going on. So that's why I'm trying to focus on solutions, and don't want to talk about all these bad things, or these violence and hate and evil and all that stuff, even though I get angry just like those people sometimes and frustrated with the system. You can't, it's more about education. It's more about teaching people and showing people this stuff than, that's the best way, is to understand and know your enemy, man. This is the art of war, right? I think it's been a while, but I think we should all take a reread of this and understand. Remember at the end of every G.I. Joe episode, right? At the end of every G.I. Joe episode, it said, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. That was like the key slogan. I used to love G.I. Joe. I used to watch it all the time back in the day. But it was, intelligence and knowing is half the battle. It's the most important half of the battle, because otherwise you're fighting the wrong people and the wrong ideas and the wrong institutions and the wrong buildings and you're going after all the wrong things. So again, happy to share information with people and where to look on the right paths. We did a whole hour before this on all the wrong paths. Some of those have led us to the right paths. Some of the information did check out. Yeah, there was an S4 at Tonopah, Site 4, right? We know there was a Site 4 at Tonopah. And you know, I don't know. They were, if you want to get into what went on there and talk about that stuff, then you know, look up electronic countermeasures. And anyways, I'm getting a little tired for this shit. It's late. Yeah, so that's what a lot of those, man, a lot of people talk like they know what's going on in the UFO field and what's really happening, and it's just a shame because those people are not the real scientists. I wish Eric Davis did more videos and stuff. If you find any Eric Davis, he doesn't really talk in, you know, detail about the squeeze states. That, like, a lot of that stuff was classified, bro. It's not talked about. It's like they'll get up to everything. They'll talk to everything about this and get up right up to that point where they start talking about the squeeze quantum states and all the quantum stuff, and then they drop right out of the picture and they won't talk about that. And that's super super interesting because it just reveals a lot, man. Whatever. People said that covering Lazar is hurting my channel. No, it's not, dude. That's the most popular story. Everyone pays attention to that. And I'm going to cover it once a year. I don't care if it hurts my channel. I'm going to cover the story once every year. Time's on my side, right? We'll cover the story once a year, and until it dies, you know, until nobody cares about it anymore, and until Jeremy Corbell still doesn't have tens of thousands of Twitter followers convinced that, you know, he's got a piece of this in his friggin' garage or whatever, you know. He's got 36.5K Twitter followers. I just got nerfed, so I'm back down. I'm barely 3,000 Twitter followers, a third of that. And this liar is on here, you know, getting Neil Tyson to respond to him and talk to him about aliens. And when he's promoting Bob Lazar, that I'm going to continue to cover Bob Lazar and, you know, the facts in that case until liars like this are exposed and people know, you know, the truth. But these people are not your friend. They're there to make a quick buck off your stupidity and your curiosity. Weaponize your curiosity. They're about to monetize your stupidity. He should change. Weaponize your curiosity. It should be monetizing your stupidity, because that's what he does. And I'm going to continue to debunk him and for other frauds out in this field like him until they go away and disappear entirely from the business. I want to embarrass people like that. They should be embarrassed. They should shut their mouths and never speak again in this field. And he should go back to being a maintenance man at his parents' apartment building. Should have never made documentaries or art or any of that crap. You suck. And then he talks crap about me and says, "Oh, well, you're this construction worker. You're just a construction worker." There's nothing wrong with being a construction worker, and you wouldn't say anything about that to people's face. And why don't we show off some of my work? I'll show off some of my work right now if people want to see it. I build like art. I have hundreds of pictures on my computer of things I've built. Beautiful things. I don't just do maintenance and repair on a stupid apartment building. I work on high-end luxury homes, like all over really nice parts of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And I build super high-end luxury showers, custom tile work. You wouldn't like this was a refix that I did, a repair job. I will like eat you alive on my artwork versus yours, dude. I am wicked crafty. I charge big money for my work. I don't get paid shit for ufology. I never have. I do this for fun because it's my passion and my interest on the side, you know, and I don't make money off this, so, you know, not nearly as much money as I've made, you know, doing high-end tile work for a host of, you know, respected clients. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that, man. I'm an artist, and 10 times the researcher and artist that you are, Mr. Freaking Corbell. Let me find some new pictures. I got even newer ones, man, on here. I gotta find. Let me find some more. I know I have some newer pictures. I did some really nice stuff recently. That was a that one's not finished. That was before it was done. It wasn't even grouted. Here's my oh yeah, this one, they had this stupid sinks around, and they had this gap on the side, you know, like this annoying gap. You get it wet and water just drips right down the side of the sink against the wall. And so I built them this nice, you know, nice backsplash. It just made it. It just finished it off so perfectly. They're getting this replaced too. They have everything gold. They got a new one of this, so everything's going to be gold to match all the gold hardware and stuff. Then this one, I had to fix a little spot on this. Did this fireplace surround. One of the sheets was a little bit darker than the rest. But yeah, that's just an introduction. This was like the slab underneath it. I had to rip the whole thing out and pour a new one. Anyways, yeah, man, I do that for my day job because it pays me way more than I ever made as a over glorified lab technician with my bachelor's degree in physics, trying to get a job anywhere around here. Not in a really good spot geographically for physics people, you know. I live in Rhode Island, so there's tons of colleges around here with tons of people going to school for that kind of stuff. But not really a lot of infrastructure with jobs in this area for that sort of thing. Never really considered going into military industry and physics jobs, right? Let's look at physics jobs, right? So I'd have to go get like a master's degree or a PhD, and I'd have to do a program where I'd get like one of these companies to pay for it, where I promised to go do like 5 and 10 or 10 years at their company once I graduated. There's programs like that are out there. And but you know, really looking around physics jobs for what you can get out here, right? So they want, okay, you need a secret clearance doing cyber coding in Middletown, Rhode Island. And that's not in Middletown, Rhode Island. I know where that is. It's down in Newport, which is near Middletown. But anyways, quality control analysts, remote role, you know, I don't know, there's just a bunch of junk around here, and there's really nothing that I could ever get. I've looked at jobs for, you know, with my degree and stuff, and it's just a bunch of, you know, overglorified technicians jobs, and they want to pay you freaking $18 an hour, $20 an hour. Bro, when I make like 40, 50 bucks an hour minimum, like when I work for myself and do construction, I've made 800 bucks in a day before. It's just crap, and it's not for me. I have good skills at building stuff. I can envision things, I can draw them, and I can build them. And those are skills that not everyone has, and so I put those to work. My attention to detail is what makes me get better clients and better jobs, because I do really, you know, find detail in my tile work, and it's the same kind of attention that I pay to my research studies when I do research into physics and stuff. Basically the same thing. Are you an agrobot? All right, let's answer some questions, man. Anyone want to talk about this stuff? Let me see if I can find a... Oh my God, I got to change the picture on this one. It's got the freaking Bob Lazar picture on this. I got to change that. Let's see if we can't get a warp drive wormhole friggin' picture. I'll do a different picture. I'm gonna do the let's go to YouTube. Oh, Dark Journalist is live, dude. Dark Journalist. Let's go say hi to Dark Journalist. Look at 2,747 people watching now, man. I've been trying to contact DJ with some information and get on his channel to talk to him. I want to have a kind of debate with Joseph Farrell too over, John Trump and Vannevar Bush versus Wheeler and Patel. Are the people I've been researching. They seem to think it's all, MIT and John Trump, Wonder what he's anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go over there and probably check out what DJ's talking about next, just to see, get the fill in, and I'm gonna do some more research on the physics and stuff and compile more information for you. And please, anyone who has other information and researches, please send it along my way. And yeah, I really lost a lot of my trust level with DJ too, because dude doesn't cover, he covers so much nonsense stuff and then doesn't cover a lot of good stuff too, man. He doesn't, I don't know. He does cover some deep state stuff that nobody else talks about and stuff, and has, brought some interesting information to my attention, such as the, Thane Eugene Caesar connection and the RFK assassination. But again, he's not super scientific and super knowledgeable about technical information and science, and he seems to be stuck on this Trump train, thinking that John G. Trump's got access to the technology, and he believes Joseph Farrell. And Giza Death Star, as you know, is Joseph Farrell's website. Talking about that pyramid is some kind of crazy technology, and man, he's got a ton of viewers and a ton of people who follow him and stuff. But he was spreading that stuff about the lasers being, the DEWs starting the wildfires. He's spreading all that directed energy weapons disinformation and a whole bunch of other disinformation related to scientific stuff. He's really not super knowledgeable on the scientific stuff. Let's look up physics. Following the science into what isn't technically cannibalism. Science. Follow the science. Yeah, see, this give you a good idea of Joseph Farrell's understanding of science and how deep he goes into this stuff. He's not really a big science guy, and he's kind of rejects a lot of science. I think he's an electric universe kind of view of the world type guy. I'm not sure. So Victor Wag sent me $7. Jeremy, are you aware that Bob Lazar's hand scanner was featured in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Yes, I was aware of that. Shall we play that part? Let's go look it up. Ready? So the hand scanner in Close Encounters, right? Oh, this guy shows it. Mick West. He showed this to Identimat, to the Black Vault. Okay. Yeah, Mick West. I showed that to Mick West. Mick West, when Bob Lazar first came out, Mick West was scrambling for information, dude. He was posting my website, boblazardebunked.com, around, because I had the best information at the time on it. But yeah, here's the clip from, they got the timestamp on here. I could actually show the movie if people want it. but I would bring the movie up and show the movie, but I'm not going to because. And look at this. Look at the chicken wire on the walls with the overlap. It's like a Faraday cage, but it's got tons of room for leakage. It's like a makeshift Faraday cage. That's pretty funny. They go, yeah. And inside this guy, the French scientist in the movie Close Encounters was actually based on Jacques Vallée. Kind of interesting. Now I have another video I wanted to show. It's up on my oh shit. If you go up on alienscientist.com, you can find this. Jeez, it's so slow. Let me find the. If you look up Jacques Vallée, Gary Nolan. No, you won't be able to find it on here. It's buried. I wasn't able to find it on that either. I gotta go to my website and find it, but everything's running so fucking slow. I can't even do it. I'm sorry for swearing. It's just all right. Any other questions? Let me see. The nuclear propulsion. We can go for electric thrusters for space propulsion. Blah, blah, blah. ARV, a UFO craft. No, this isn't ARV. This isn't Mark McCandlish. This is like something a little bit beyond that. So, did the scanner in the movie measure bones or fingerprints? Okay, it was the Identimat. It was also featured in, like, you know, electronics magazines and all kinds of other stuff. Let me find it. The Identimat, it was called. It has the patent for the hand recognition. I think it measured the bones in your hand using lasers that would just, you know, shine light through the skin. It would measure the lengths of the bones in your hand. And it was in plenty of sources that long predate, you know, Bob Lazar's disclosure in 1989. There's plenty of places he could have gotten that information or that idea from. I have a whole bunch of articles on this, including like pictures from the magazines going way back. But yeah, there's pictures of these scanners at Area 51. This is for the F-117 program. These futuristic hand scanners. Two versions of the Identimat. One's got a card scanner, the other one doesn't. Yeah, so this was definitely way older than that whole thing, and they use these, and these are like I guess the new ones that they use. They're even more advanced and sophisticated than the old school ones. And then of course they got retinal scans and all that kind of stuff too. All right, any let me see. I think Bob Lazar is honest. So there's a good YouTube video on body language experts, right? And there's a couple body language experts. This one right here, Derek Van Schalk. And this guy is a fraud. He's not a real body language expert. He got 2.7 million views by pretending he was a body language expert and promoting Bob Lazar with the video, saying, "Oh my God, he's truthful. He's definitely got to be telling the truth." And everyone, you know, of course, liked the video and thought that was awesome because they want to believe a lie, and I do too. I'll admit. I really, really want to believe Lazar. I really wanted to for years. I wouldn't have done so much damn research on this case for 16 years if I didn't want to know. So you look down, you scroll down, you search for body language experts Lazar, and that's the only video you see. Now, if you add this one word in here, just type in panel. Then all of a sudden, this video comes up with the behavior panel, and this video has, about a 1/10 of the views, that this video has. This one has 2.7 million. This one has less than 2.7K, 270K. Sorry. But these guys are the real truthful experts on how to tell if people are lying, because we know we know from just doing the research, that we know from doing the research that Bob's not being truthful with the story. So I use that as a good way to sort through, this panel of these 4 experts do a much better job than that one guy who claims to be a body language expert who promotes Bob Lazar the entire time. So these guys, this guy, oh my God, he's truthful. Look at body language, and it's got an alien right in the picture. It's an hour long, 2.7 million views. This one's a little bit longer, but these guys do a much more thorough and accurate analysis, and they're much better at, really spotting bullshit and spotting bullshitters. And these guys have no stake in this. They're not UFO people. They're not Bob Lazar people. They could give a damn. They're just people doing body language tests and doing a body language panel on everybody. And they picked Bob Lazar as one of them. That's the unusual topics. Very cool, but yeah. He's conspiracy industry connected very much. He's become like a pillar of the industry, and we see in that movie by Corbell the scenes where he films George Knapp next to that enormous indoor swimming pool. That's George Knapp's house in that movie, Area 51 and Flying Saucers, where they interview George Knapp. I can't even find the picture with that enormous indoor swimming pool. That's in the movie. Yeah, here it is. See that enormous indoor swimming pool that George Knapp has filmed and doing that film. That's George Knapp's house. Okay, that's how much money this dude's made off of Bob Lazar and selling the Bob Lazar story. So to think that he's going to stop now and he's going to delete all the stuff that disagrees with Bob or hide it as best as possible, and he's going to keep promoting the story, and that's all there is to it, man. He was a great researcher, maybe back in the day when he first found this stuff. He was like, it was awesome doing watching the old George Knapp news reports and the stuff that he did back in the day. He definitely did, some cool stuff back in the day with talking about the secret government, these hidden groups, and these secrets outside the public domain and stuff. But he never followed up on it, never really did the due diligence, and he got caught and sucked into all this disinformation story, which is why I think he became so successful, and why I think he was put as the head guy to do the UFO investigations in Russia. As you remember that when the Soviet Union fell, the Soviet UFO documents went up for grabs, and so they invited George Knapp over to go and do all the Soviet UFO file. Basically, the public, what the public was given was, George Knapp. And who knows where all the real files from the USSR went and what happened there, but all the public stuff got, the public domain stuff. As we know, like Project Blue Book through the Pinnacle Memorandum. So the Pinnacle Memorandum was discovered by Jacques Vallée, and it revealed that there was a secret Project Blue Book, that the government's Project Blue Book that was headed by J. Allen Hynek, wasn't really what was going on. That was just a public face, that the government hired a bunch of the people that really hated UFOs and were the biggest skeptics of UFOs. They went and found all the scientists and people out there in the industry that were the biggest skeptics of UFOs, and they propped them up and they paid them on a salary to debunk UFOs for the government, and they called that their investigation. Meanwhile, they ridiculed the subject publicly, but meanwhile they were soberly concerned about it behind the scenes, as documents show, and that there was a secret other Air Force study that was being conducted by Dr. Howard Cross of Battelle, and that was what was revealed in the Pinnacle Memorandum, that while Project Blue Book was the public, face of this whole government investigation into UFOs, it really, really went much, much deeper into a classified, much more secure and classified area. So, very interesting. Dr. Cross and A.D. Westerman, L.R. Jackson, W.T. Reed, and P.J. Riepel. These are all, people that are hard to research and find any information on, because it was so long ago. You have to go through like written archives, which aren't digitized, so you can't just search for this stuff on a computer and find it. It's all offline. A lot of this stuff's offline. You'll never find it on the internet, and including all the Battelle stuff that this kind of alluded to in that Pinnacle Memorandum. Dr. Cross, very interesting guy, did met with all kinds of people and discussed a lot of different. I mean, he was director of Battelle for years, and but his links to the UFO file and a lot of the Air Force people that were studying UFOs at the time is very, very interesting even to this day. I think it's a key to the heart of the UFO issue, and the fact that Wheeler was involved and then wrote that paper on the squeeze states. That Wheeler was so involved, and then we find this paper on him doing research on squeeze states in 1985, and that's the stuff that Eric Davis is talking about in this warp drive paper. Boom, boom, right there, man. That should be like, people want to say, oh, I'm not a researcher, I'm more of an information archivist. Yeah, but that's a key find, bro, for some research. That's still research. I'm sorry. How would a UFO enter the atmosphere without being seen? Well, how do we see things? We detect things with electromagnetic waves and radiation, right? So we also use radar systems, okay, to detect things. So if we can find out what frequency your radar system is transmitting on, and find out all your radar frequencies, what your radar is looking for, then we can use invisibility cloaks and invisibility techniques to sneak past your radar systems so that we can easily enter your atmosphere without being seen or known about. You won't even know we're there. Which brings me to another interesting radar system called, and if guarantee you search for this, you're going to get put on a list. But they used entangled radar, entangled photons, right? So they experimented with using entanglement and photons to basically make an unhackable radar, because there was all these schemes that they'd come up with for hacking radar, spoofing radar signals and radar signal returns, and all these different schemes for avoiding radar. So a lot of them work on things that they realized that if they built quantum entangled radar, that they did the entangled photons, they could tell right away if that photon was messed with, because it would become unentangled when it bounced back. And so they began developing quantum radar systems that used entangled photons to detect things. And suddenly they could see invisible, if an object's using invisibility or an invisibility cloak, it will detect something there, because the photons will become disentangled and unentangled. And apparently they built some of these radar systems and were using them, and some interesting things happened. Well, they got a lot of false positives. They were seeing invisible shit flying all over the skies everywhere. It was kind of startling and scary for them. So, it had a very short and weird life, because, they built it, they implemented it, and then they started seeing all kinds of crazy shit. Basically opened up the skies of all the invisible stuff flying out there, and they had to shut it off and take it out of use, because holy crap, either this things aren't working and it's just giving us false positives, or there's actually a lot of invisible shit flying out there, and now we're just starting to see it for the first time. So that's a very interesting history on quantum radar and quantum radar systems that you should probably look up. Again, the quantum radar systems would be super, if they could be perfected and used effectively, they could be great for detecting invisible aircraft and invisible ships. So, again, radar see, not that invisible ships see, you know, invisible craft. Yeah, invisible ships, dude. William Alec. Like advanced stealth drones. You know, China and Russia are working on stealth drone technology, with, you know, invisibility cloaking and different types of radar invisibility. And so yeah, they can detect invisible craft or stealth aircraft. Need to, let's see, need to abolish our government. Blah, 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 blah. The government doesn't really run the government, man. You can abolish the government you want, but it's the secret government that runs the government. It's the deep state, like, or whatever you want to call it. It's a secret shadow government, and it's literally the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about at the end of his speech. And yeah, let me find some of this. Any more questions? Let me see. Blah 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 blah. The bigger waste of time on John Hutchison. John Hutchison, yeah, I'm trying to get John Hutchison to come down to our lab and demonstrate how to do the Hutchison effect, and anyone that knows how to create the Hutchison effect to come down to our lab and show us how to do it, or show us papers that have been written on it that show how to do it. I mean, obviously, if they figured this thing out and it was a real thing, there'd be physics papers written on this stuff showing how to do it. But instead, I have a bunch of, you know, I don't know. I'm going to give John the benefit of the doubt, and I take his word that he's just a weird, wacky guy, and that some of those videos that look like him hoaxing stuff maybe was just him just being a wacky guy and being weird because he just wants people to not believe him, and or wanted to fade into obscurity or whatever the excuses are. But all I care about is the science, how to replicate it, and how to show it to the world. And if, you know, again, if you're not giving us replicable results and how to do stuff, then it's not super actionable or important, you know. So I just tend to like not focus on stuff like that unless they're actually, you know, calling us up and being like, let me come to your laboratory and show you this. Like, it really is real and it works, you know, or something, or someone saying, oh, hey, look, I have some papers on stuff. I have all of John Hutchison's papers. I have reams of documents and all kinds of stuff from him. There's nothing in there that like I can use to really make sense of anything or do anything with as far as. But anyways, the UFO dump from Trump, the CIA files. Didn't the CIA like reorganize all their pages or something? Black Vault was talking about that. So let me find it. The Black Vault, blah, blah, blah. It was on here, and it was the CIA documents. I want to find the government. Where is the... So Black Vault releases the trove of the CIA's documents. I already looked at some of those. There's a lot of stuff that's still redacted and classified. But then... wasn't John complaining about... Let me find the tweet from earlier. I gotta find the tweet from John Greenwald. Come on, Twitter. Come on, Twitter. Let's find Black Vault. Boom. And he made this tweet. I know I saw it, and it's probably faded into the background. Here. The CIA recently redesigned their website, and as a result, they changed nearly every URL or unique page name that they used. And what happened is the CIA just broke every single one of their document pages indexed by Google. So all the indexed by Googles, when you try to like click on the Google indexes, they no longer link and no longer find anything. So you can't search for the stuff on Google. And anyone who already went through and did research on this and put a link library together, your link library is now fucking dysfunctional and doesn't even work because you can't. None of the links work anymore because they disabled all the links and changed them on you. So that's what the CIA just did. In addition to releasing a bunch of new documents that essentially show nothing more that we didn't already know, that the CIA was an organization created, in the 1947 after a lot of these organizations already existed during wartime and during the Manhattan Project to deal with the secrecy and the information suppression surrounding these things. So it's quite interesting what's been going on with that. Again, I don't think that you're going to find anything going after the CIA documents on UFOs because, as I've already established, the CIA, right, led by a guy named Frederick Durant. Was it Frederick Durant? Yeah, I think this was Fred Durant. Was it him? Sorry, I think this is the guy. This was a different dude. I'm thinking of. I have his name. Hold on. So in any case, this is why the live streams suck, because it's like I get lose my track of thought and people are like, oh, what's going on, and I have to like regain this. So anyways, I'm talking about the CIA people from the Robertson panel. All right. The CIA hired this whole Robertson panel, and they hired all the people that hated UFOs. F.C. Durant, yeah, it was Durant. CIA officer who served as the secretary of the panel. So yeah, it was called, the wider documents all called the Durant report, because the Robertson panel hired all these CIA people to write this report on it, and it was all the people that hated UFOs and didn't really care about the subject and wanted to just debunk it all and thought it was all just bunk. It was the McWests. They hired a whole panel of McWests, and they gave them funding and jobs and salaries and titles and and they were well on their way. They thought they were super important and super smart. One of them was the guy Alvarez, who was the balloon scientist, who designed all the weather balloons, the high altitude weather balloon radar systems. So he thought he was educating, Luis Alvarez, this guy. He's the weather balloon scientist for the U.S. Navy and for the government. He developed all those weather balloons. Here he is. In any case, yeah, interesting stuff, all part of history, but we're still being lied to. They still don't have the truth, man. There's still an embargo against, us ever knowing anything, and then there's a constant effort to dumb down and feed disinformation to the public and just mislead people with all sorts of nonsense and lies. Let's look up UFOs on, just look up UFOs on Google. Well, I got a lot of this stuff on here now, but man, it's just the stuff that's out there. In any case, I'm getting tired. Who else is getting tired? Who else is in the live stream still? The dark journalist is a conspiracy industrialist. Yeah, the CIA is they're obfuscating all their information. They want to make this as confusing and difficult for people to navigate this landscape as possible. They don't want people like, and they want you to think that people like me are like disinformation agents. So like you come in and like, I'm trying to show you a way through the landscape, and they try to just, I don't know. They just try to screw it all up with all these false, points on the map, and now I have to sit here and weave through it all. It's a mess. It's a goddamn mess that they've created. Be lucky if we ever get it sorted out. Have you ever looked at David LaPointe video on magnetism and fusion? No, I haven't. Let's check that out. David LaPointe, magnetism and fusion. Over unity. Primer fields. Oh, this is the primer fields guy? Interesting stuff. Maybe I'll get him on to do some plasma physics research, man. Primer field ion thruster. This dude's building this shit in his garage or something. That's a pretty nice setup. Look at that. Yeah, he's shooting some ions out of that, baby. Look at that. Yeah, that's cool, man. We needed a little primer field, primer video. It's a bowl of spinning magnets. That is really cool. That's how he created the video, huh? He just captured it with his phone on a gimbal thing, spinning around like that. That's pretty neat. Primer fields. Look at that spinning plasma in there. That's pretty cool. See, he gets downloads too, and he builds stuff, man. That's cool, dude. I'd like to get this guy on and talk to him, man. This is what I'm talking about. I want to talk to more scientists who are building shit and doing real stuff, man. It's crazy. This man sneaked into Area 51. Look, Goofon's up there talking about that video we just plugged. He watches my stuff now too. He's been checking it out lately, so guarantee you that's where he got it from, or someone sent it to him from here. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. We got to go back into Bob at some point and do like a thorough video. I might do like a video on it, like a summary on it or something, man. That was just, yeah. It wasn't what I hoped to do earlier today, man. I really hoped that we had gone through a lot of information, and then right as we were starting to get really into the nuts and bolts and the details, it was like right at the end of that video, and then they cut the freaking stream, dude. It just disappeared. It just cut midstream for no reason. All right, it's going. Oh, what happened? That was just really weird. In any case, yeah, the primer fields, that's cool stuff, dude. I'm gonna go and have to, I gotta find that video again. Gonna subscribe to that dude and check out some of his videos and send stuff to him. Anyone else have any cool stuff like that that we should check out the primer fields. That was a cool one. What else should we look up? This was 8 years ago, man. Alright, this is. I swear I don't agree with all this stuff. We've covered a lot of that already. Okay, so he talks about this stuff. He talks really fast and animated, but again, the way that this is done is through these squeeze state physics and quantum states on the surfaces of the craft. And people want to talk about UFOs and what they are. So yeah, not living organisms. Let's talk about the different types. So like manufacturing types. So one of the ways is through a lot of these nano coatings. So you take metals and then you build them layer by layer using nano types of coatings and film coatings and other types of technologies. This is like what we're going to have to build. These are the first warp drives that we're going to have to build in order to get us to the next level, which is what some people are describing these living organisms or these living craft. And that's like on a next level of manufacturing, rather than, we do atomic 3D printing, that would be another level up, like atomic 3D printing, where you're literally printing atom by atom in a machine that can do it super fast. It might not be the best way to build these things. Like I said, there could be these spray coating techniques or these other types of techniques that are much more suited to building these things. Again, we don't really have the technology figured out yet on how to build what they have. We haven't been able to figure out how to build the things that they can build. We don't have the building blocks, because they're using more building blocks than we are, because don't forget they have all these different isotopes of things that they can use that do all these different things. So the other idea is that that these are grown, that these are organic molecules, that they take like literally DNA and generate a DNA chain for a living species that literally grows the craft as its exoskeleton and shell, and it's like a living, that the craft is literally a DNA sequenced living organism that we can, you know, that's a whole nother level of engineering on because when it comes to biological systems and DNA and protein engineering and building things like that, that's on a whole nother level. And again, I don't know if we're ever going to get there, but yeah, it would be to the point where we can design things and build biological organisms on a level that is way beyond what we're capable of now, and that if we could somehow build a biological organism, that we could grow a craft. But I don't think that that's anywhere in our, you know, near future. I think there's a lot of interesting research that's been being done into so why are physicists interested in Scarab beetles? Okay, so there's a whole thing on that, these physicists going out and capturing Scarab beetles, and especially these golden beetles, right? A lot of these Scarab beetles have these metallic shells and metallic surfaces and stuff on their shells, but yet, even though they look metallic and these materials have metallic properties, they're not actually made of any metals at all. They're not metals whatsoever. Their properties are gained through the structure of the structure of the proteins that make up and it's nanostructures. It's nano materials that actually create these properties, and that's being studied by a lot of physicists and researchers currently, trying to understand the nanotechnology and how things work with light on those levels to create those effects and the illusions of metals and stuff. So that's where a lot of that science is that's left out of the picture. It's cool to talk about warp drives and bending space and these wormhole throats and all this stuff. I think the best one, I think the most realistic ones we're going to find is the stuff that's just built, around the craft. I don't think. I highly doubt we're going to build time travel, time machines, and all that stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. But if we can build a warp drive that warps space-time around the craft using variable speed of light phenomenon and these, vacuum fluctuations. So here's producing negative vacuum energy. This is the key part. So let's listen to what he has to say about this. Okay, so people can't hear the video again. They've nerfed the videos again, so maybe you guys can't hear it. But he's talking about these parabolic mirrors and these vacuum fluctuations. And let me find out what the fuck happened again. Oh, jeez. Everything is working now. Nothing's working. All right, so yeah, they nerfed the video. You guys won't be able to show that, but I posted a link to it and give you the timestamp around 23 minutes, right where he starts talking about all that stuff. If you want to go to that in the video and watch that, it will give you some good information from Eric Davis on these wormholes and stuff. Again, this video is still a little bit older. I'm really hoping to get some new updated stuff with Eric and. Hopefully, okay. So also, I want to encourage people to 2 hours. We're wrapping up. We have the most amount of viewers live watching right now that we've had all night. This is pretty cool. Tomorrow is going to be APEC number 4. Finally, we're having another APEC conference. Dude. So the last APEC conference was, as you all know, posted to this channel. It's hosted by Tim Ventura of American Anti-Gravity. And I also mirror the conference on my. So Tim Ventura runs the conference, hosts it, and I mirror it on my. I mirror it through my channel and through my site to get some more. To give it some more viewership and attention, because I have a bigger audience, it seems, than Tim Ventura does. So I'm trying to get people interested in this aspect of the word research. And boom. Let me find this. So we're having Nick Pope and Ron Evans on tomorrow. That's interesting. Nick Pope, eh? I was thinking it was going to be Nick Cook. So Nick Cook is a little bit different than is a writer. I think Nick Cook might be coming on at some point. Nick Pope is a different. Nick Pope was the former defense secretary. He's a British journalist. Is this Nick Pope? Yeah, this is Nick Pope. And Nick Pope is served on the British. He was an employee of the British government's Ministry of Defense, and he was basically hired to investigate UFOs for a little while for the British government. And that's his claim to fame in all this. And so he's been, a UFO guy and interested in UFOs ever since. And he's been a guy with a lot of connections in ufology and journalism to bigger venues and stuff. So it'll be good to get Nick Pope in here to see what we're doing, to talk about his research and stuff, even though he's not really super technical. He already made it clear that he's not a scientist, or he can't really speak on a technical level of any of the science or technology and stuff that's going on, but he's really just going to talk about his experiments with government, the UFO cover-up and stuff like that. It'll be cool to get him on. You guys can ask a lot of questions live here tomorrow while we're doing that, and I'll be able to relay those questions to Nick Pope so that we can get some information out of Nick Pope, hopefully, and hopefully get him aware and connected to what Tim Ventura and all the other scientists and people are setting up and what they're doing. So APEC number 4, guys, tune into that. Let's see, Ron Evans. Ron Evans is not the Australian Football League Ron Evans. That's not the guy. Let's find Ron Evans. Physics? Is he a physicist? I don't know if I'm familiar with Ron Evans. So Ron Evans is, this is Project Greenglow? Oh, this is really cool if we got Project Greenglow. I've heard of Project Greenglow. I'm not familiar with all the scientists' names and stuff. So this is Ronald Evans, apparently. Oh, very interesting. He received the Nomis Distinguished Science Award from Salk Institute. He's a Salk professor. Howard Hughes medical investigator and director of Salk's Gene Expression Laboratory. Is this the same guy? I don't know if this is who we're getting on. No, this can't be this can't be the same dude. Come on. Project Greenglow. Ronald Evans. This has got to be the right guy. It's got to be a different Ronald Evans. So hopefully we'll talk about Project Greenglow and the search for gravity control. I think this is like Biefeld-Brown stuff. I'm not sure. This should be interesting. So this is BAE Systems, who sponsored Project Greenglow. All right, very interesting. I'm going to have to do some research on this tonight because I definitely don't know enough about it. I've heard of Greenglow as one of the older projects that they were researching on, and I thought the green glow, the words green glow, came from these plasmas that were green, that were, allegedly at some UFO sighting or something that was green, that they tried to reverse engineer or something. So this looks like Ronald Evans. This looks like the guy. It is the same dude. No? This is just him bald. It looks very similar. It looks almost the same, dude. Is this the same guy? Ron Evans, the man behind Project Green Glow. This is cool, man. If we're getting this dude on to talk about this stuff. So BBC did a thing on this guy back in the day. So this is cool. We're getting some of the British guys over to talk about, you know, this stuff. So I guess Ron Evans and Nick Pope, both from the UK, both British UFO sort of researchers in different fronts. This should be super interesting. I can't wait to dig into this more. This is Roger Scheuer with that M drive. Man, I want to get more of the M drive people on. I've been talking to Mike McCulloch, but he's involved with some DARPA research, and he's not got a gag order. He can't really talk about a lot of stuff now anymore. So he's been really quiet on Twitter and Facebook and stuff lately. Hasn't said much, shared a couple things privately with me, but can't really share much about everything that's going on right now for whatever reasons with their M drive research. This is interesting. I can't wait to. I'm going to dig into this, come up with some good questions. I can't wait for Tim to have these guests on APEC tomorrow, and we'll be streaming that live tomorrow. Hopefully, you guys can all check in and join us for that. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to this channel, and share this video, and share any videos that you want to share from my channel with people that are interested in learning more about this information and getting plugged into the network of researchers who are investigating this and trying to inform ourselves and learn as much as we can about, you know, declassified government technology science programs. That's awesome, because the more we learn about these declassified programs, it's like missing history. It's like huge chunks of the history book that have just been erased or hidden or redacted, you know, and we're just removing all that black ink from the history book, and now we're able to read these missing parts and missing pieces and put this all together. And this helps us to really understand where technology has been at, where it's at today, where, you know, really level the playing field on the technology side of things. That it really helps put stuff in perspective and weed out. There's so much disinformation and so many bullshit claims out there, and this kind of this brings it all back to reality. Because if you can't prove it, and if it was that friggin' real and that easy, you know, someone would be able to show it and build it and come to our lab and demonstrate it, and we'd be able to find paperwork on it or something. But our research, we're showing what they tried. We're showing everything they tried, and then showing the stuff that worked, showing the stuff that didn't work, and showing the actual research and talking to the actual people who were involved in it. This is amazing. This is amazing. We live in an amazing time. As much as crazy, violent, insane stuff that's going on out in the world, we have some of the worst of humanity demonstrating itself, while some of the best parts of humanity are also working towards, you know, positive things for our future. And that's really where I want to spend my time and my energy, because, you know, we can all, it's easy to be negative. It's easy to go and destroy stuff. It's much harder to build things, especially things that will last and things that are real. You know, it's easy to build a bunch of bullshit stuff. It's easy to build fake stuff, you know. We have, you know, extraordinarybeliefs.com, which is the intellectual equivalent of a macaroni castle. But, you know, just because you built something doesn't mean it's good or will last or is important. Again, I don't think that these M drives that these people are building are really going to be the space. This is not the spaceship of the future, but it's a concept. It's a proof of concept. It's a mock-up design for something that can be eventually expanded upon, tested, and proved through research and development, which could lead to the next rockets of the future. I mean, this is the Saturn V. The first rockets that Robert Goddard built didn't look anything like that. When they were starting out, it was much more primitive technology, and I think that's, you know, where we're at right now is really in the infancy of our understanding of the universe and how it's all connected. So yeah, again, thanks for watching. I'm not going to drag this out anymore. It's already 2 hours. Weaponize your mac and cheese. Weaponize your weaponize your macaroni. And again, thanks. And yeah, watch out. Be safe. Be careful out there, man. I guess Parler is. Everyone jumped over to Parler, and they were promoting it as this underground community, and the feds just use it to collect intel, and they arrested a whole ton of people. So be careful out there, guys. Don't get involved with these violent groups. Don't get involved with violent people who are out there to destroy and harm and wreck stuff, or you're going to get caught up in a world of bullshit and get yourselves arrested by the FBI. Instead, focus on science, focus on progress, and focus on waking people up through information and better, and just getting better information. And if other people don't want to wake up, screw them, dude, because there are plenty of people alive during Galileo's day, okay, that didn't believe in what Galileo was saying, and it wasn't just the Roman Catholic Church who were prosecuting people for, these ideas. It was scientists too, it was society. And just remember, those people are on the wrong side of history. They're going to look fucking stupid in history books in 200 years from now. And that's all that matters. Because none of this time, everything that we're living right now is all going to be a forgotten ancient memory. And that's the way you have to put this all in perspective, is that, all that matters is the future. None of this stuff that's happening right now and all this, crap, it isn't really matter in the long run. All that matters is the future of our species and passing the great filter. We must pass the great filter. And this is the great filter right here. It's our ability to focus on constructing the future and building that future versus us destroying ourselves and fighting each other in a pile of our own feces until we die, which is what bacteria does. And let's prove that we're smarter than bacteria. Okay? Thanks.